What's up, everybody? It's this week at Omnia time again, and we are going to be going over some fishing reports, some of the best bites and the best baits, the hot baits that are catching them right now in your neck of the woods. The hottest baits going on right now, no big surprise here. We're looking at the 3.3 size Kitech was our #1 selling soft plastic, followed up by the Missile Mini Magic Worm. Not a big surprise there either. This is brand new, and we saw its debut, catch them right away. These hand-poured worms are perfect for getting bit anywhere in the country. And then the Depths Cover Scat. This style of bait right here with the Yamamoto Yamatsunuki and this Depths Cover Scat are gaining popularity the more they're out on the water. So that's a good sign. It's not just that they're new and a new tactic, but it seems like the more people are fishing with them, the more people are buying them. And of course, no big shocker, it's spring, the chatterbait's playing. In fact, the Z-Man Evergreen Jackhammer is the one that's playing the most. The Hog Farmer Pintail Shad and this Kamikaze trailer, also from Big Bite Baits, is both playing big time. So no big surprises for early baits. Not as springy as I thought it'd be, but no big shock when it comes to best selling baits right now. Finally, we got fishing reports from the North Country. I've been waiting for these for a long time, and thank you to our friends in Wisconsin for kicking them over here. Wisconsin opens up before Minnesota for legal fishing anyway for bass. We can't do it here in Minnesota for a few more weeks yet. It's crazy, I know, but that's what we got to deal with. So thankfully, our friends in Wisconsin are sharing their open water success already. Looks like Eric here was fishing Buffalo Lake in Wisconsin. He found 65-degree water already. Man, I'm jealous. I don't think we got that anywhere here yet. Our lakes just opened up, at least in the metro area of Minneapolis that I live in around. We haven't seen, just the ice just came off, so we haven't seen that yet. He was fishing bridges and riprap banks. So those areas already are holding some fish, which is good. You got some pre-spawn fish there. They were biting things like Ned rigs, hover rigs, and then he went to the chatterbait. It seems like he had his best success with like the Z-Man original chatterbait there, and the Yamamoto Zako and bluegill patterns, because that's what those pre-spawners are feeding on already. So thank you, Eric, for letting us know that you're out there already catching them on the bladed jig. Next up, we have one here from Connor. He was on Rainbow Lake in Wisconsin, and the water temp there is 60 degrees. That seems pretty reasonable for this time of year. Way back in the back of the pockets in real shallow water, probably some dirtier water, warms up a lot quicker there. And he was catching them on not only a chatterbait, but he was also using a swim jig. And that's pretty common in the spring. If you're always throwing a chatterbait, sometimes switch it up to something more subtle like a swim jig. I've actually had a lot of my early season success with a swim jig as well, to back up what Connor's saying here. He was fishing the open water basins, but he found himself the warmest areas he could find in that basin and fishing that bladed jig, bluegill patterns. That equals success for largemouth this early in the year. Next up, Kyle, Otter Lake in Wisconsin. He got pretty detailed here. He was trying to fish some offshore stuff, like big stuff, trying to catch those real early pre-spawners offshore with a 10XD and a flutter spoon. He's really getting after it, I guess. Those are some big baits to go after some early season cold water pre-spawners. And he didn't have a lot of success doing that, so it looks like he found his way into some shallower, warmer water. The main lake temps are still 46, 47 degrees, hence why he was fishing so deep. Those are still wintering fish. And he got shallow and he went for what he calls the rage reaction. So pissing him off, burning a chatterbait. That does work sometimes really early. When you get to that really warm water, you can get some reaction bites out of some pre-spawn fish that are up cruising around, and he's getting that reaction bite out of those fish using the jackhammer. And he was using, once again, bluegill patterns. So if you see, there's a pattern here developing from our friends over there in Wisconsin, that early stage forage for those fish that are getting ready to spawn. Those pre-spawn fish are feeding up on those early seasons bluegills. So shallow water, warm water, and a chatterbait. Go fishing. We got an Elite Series event going on this week down on Lake Murray in South Carolina. And what we've seen right away working there is a couple things. As we've stated, and the preview for the event, there are all 3 stages of the spawn going on. There are still people catching them pre-spawn out on the main lake. They might be post-spawners that have recovered already and gotten their weight back on, but my bet is that some of them are pre-spawn, because man, they're catching some big ones already. We're seeing them catch them on clay points, offshore structure out there on the main lake, off the points there. Those are schooling fish that are feeding on the herring spawn, which is pretty interesting stuff. That's pretty unique to that part of the country. You don't see that happening a lot, so those anglers that are keying in on that bite are catching some healthy offshore schooling fish on those points. But we also see some bedders still happening out there, so there's sight fishing going on. I've talked to even some of the anglers out there that had early success finding them, looking at those fish on the bottom of the lake that are already that are currently spawning. So the sight fishing thing's going on. The interesting thing to see is whose pattern holds out the best. Are we going to get another wave of spawners that roll in if I'm right about there still being pre-spawners? Or is this the very tail end of the spawn? And the guys that are fishing offshore are going to end up finding themselves better towards the end of the week. Something's going to play here in the middle, and that's why we watch. Let's wait and see and find out what happens on Lake Murray. Now, in our neck of the woods, we had our first tournament of the year that was going to pop off, and that was the Dick Hiley's Bass Classic, the St. Jude tournament down in Wabasha, Minnesota on the Mississippi River. Sad news. We still have snow in the north part of the country, and that Itasca area where the headwaters of the Mississippi where it starts, all that snow is still melting up there, and it's been raining and it's been cold, and the river is raging. So they actually postponed the tournament all the way to October. But we had some employees that work here that were taking part in the event. We have some anglers that are friends of ours that were taking part of the event, and it's a great event. It raises a ton of money for childhood cancer, and we want to support it the best we can, and I hope you will too. Join us in supporting child cancer research and St. Jude's treatment of these kids and their families at no cost to them by buying one of these Omnia Fishing St. Jude colorway hats. We produced this hat specifically for this tournament, and 100% of the proceeds are going to be donated to the St. Jude. This event, their goal was to raise $1 million, which goes a long, long way in helping out some kids and their families that are dealing with something you can't imagine, and super, super hard for the children themselves and their families. So, don't give up on supporting the tournament. It's still going to kick off in October. We'll kick some stuff off when that happens again, but the hats are in now. So grab yourself a cool Omnia lid. That's a limited edition. That all the proceeds are going to the St. Jude Dick Hiley Bass Classic to raise money for children's cancer. Tune in next week for another This Week at Omnia, where we'll be going over the best bites and the best baits going on around the country. All this information comes from you, the people that are filing the fishing reports, so it's organic information that's going on around the country. I can't wait to see more fishing reports filed up in the North Country, but we're going to keep our eyes peeled as the fish transition from those spring patterns to summer patterns down south, and we just get into our spring fishing up here in the north. Take care and go catch them.